If you're planning on moving to Kelowna, BC, and you're thinking to yourself, how can I make the move to the right area if A, I've never actually been to Kelowna or the Okanagan, B, I've been to Kelowna on vacation, fell in love with it, but don't know enough about the area to actually pull the trigger on the move, or C, you visited here many times, but never through the eyes of relocating, so you don't actually have the in-depth knowledge of the different areas and neighborhoods, then you're gonna definitely wanna watch this video. This is going to be an in-depth map video on Kelowna and West Kelowna to not only familiarize yourself with the different neighborhoods, but also the layout of the city itself. I'll be going through the different areas of Kelowna, giving you local insights that you won't be able to find by just Googling Kelowna. And by the end of this video, you're gonna have a far better understanding of what areas might be right for you, what areas aren't gonna match your lifestyle, and a far better grasp of what Kelowna is actually all about. So this crash course is gonna save you endless time on research and money going into someone else's pocket if you have to come here and rent for a long time and discover this all on your own. So without further ado, let's get right into it. So let's start off by actually orientating ourselves to Kelowna and just kind of getting an idea of the landscape. So this is Kelowna right in this general area. I'm gonna let you know I have a bit of a shaky hand, so don't expect this to be pretty, but this is Kelowna. Right in this section is going to be North Kelowna, and this is the airport area. You have neighborhoods like McKinley Landing. Over here is going to be East Kelowna. This is Kelowna downtown and central. And here's a little bridge that crosses to West Kelowna, and West Kelowna occupies that whole area. And of course, running down here, you have Okanagan Lake, which travels all the way from the tip of Vernon all the way down through Peachland, Summerland to Penticton. So it's a pretty huge lake. And just for a bit of point of reference, just north of Kelowna, you have the Lake Country area, and north of that, you have the entrance to the north of the Okanagan in Vernon and Coldstream. Just south of Kelowna, you have Peachland, and from there you have Summerland in this area, Penticton, all the way down to Oliver and Osoyoos, the kind of most southern point here of the Okanagan. So I wanted to just start off quickly by looking at some of the major landmarks and places that most people are going to want to be aware of when moving to the city. So of course, up here in the north, you have Kelowna International Airport, and right around this area here, you have UBCO, University of British Columbia. Our major shopping and amenity areas are going to be located right here around the Spall area along Highway 97. Of course, the main downtown core is in the north, and the southern Pandosy corridor area is right here. And this is where you're going to have the Kelowna General Hospital. And our other major shopping center is going to be across the bridge right over here in the West Kelowna side. So those are your big box stores areas for West Kelowna. Now for this next part, I'm going to assume you just landed on a plane at Kelowna's International Airport, or you're driving from out east. Sorry, Lower Mainland people, we're actually going to go east to west in this video. And what I'm going to do is take you on a neighborhood tour from a local's perspective, just like I do on the many of exploratory tours I do with clients who actually reach out to me from this channel. So starting at the northern tip, so you land at Kelowna's International Airport, there's going to be a few neighborhoods that you can get to right away as soon as you land, and that's going to be the Ellison neighborhood, which, let me see here, let me get some perspective. Where's Highway 33? Okay, so Ellison is going to be this area, probably right all over here. So it's just east of the airport. I mean, it's a more rural community. You definitely have some affordability in this area. You have some nice homes, a little bit of space. You have homes around this golf course here at Sunset Ranch, which a lot of people actually move to the community and want to have that golf course retirement living, and this is a great option for that. The affordability is great there. You get some beautiful views, and it's a really nice, peaceful part of the city. Now, of course, if you're someone who needs immediate access to the Kelowna International Airport, you're right next to it. But something to be aware of with this neighborhood, of course, is the fact that the airport is just west of you, and I mean, it's extremely close. So a lot of these homes get a lot of that plain noise pollution. So it's not an area I'd recommend purchasing without actually going there and seeing the property and finding out if it's manageable for yourself, because a lot of the communities right along Old Vernon Road, which travels right alongside of the airport and kind of is a little sneaky way you can get around if you don't want to take the highway and you want to avoid any of that airport traffic. A lot of the homes in areas right along there definitely get affected more by the airplane noise than some places. But as you get further back into these hills and even the Sunset Ranch area, I find that the noise pollution is pretty minimal for the most part. Now let's move over to the next neighborhood, and it's to the western side of the airport, and that's going to be the University District. So the University District occupies kind of this area right in here. Of course, it centers around the University of British Columbia, but this is an area that you get a lot of students. Like anything around the apartment complexes on Academy Way, you're going to get a ton of student living. So if you're buying an investment property that's going to get constantly rented out by students, this is a great option for you. They have close access to the university. You have a little amenity center here for the students with grocery store. There's hotels for parents, coffee shops, liquor store, pretty much anything you need, because being in the University District, you are a little ways if you're a student and you don't have a vehicle from downtown. So it's self-maintained up here. Of course, you can sneak in the John Hindle Drive to the Glenmore area and access the amenities there. There's also two really nice golf courses here in the Bear and the Quail. And this is kind of where you see a lot of that retirement age or people that just want affordability and live in a really beautiful neighborhood. There's tons of great single family homes, townhouse complexes, and apartments, especially along this Capistrano and Country Club Drive, where you can find really nice properties. I don't know why, because it's not much farther than Ellison is from the airport, but I feel like this area is less affected by the noise pollution for the airport. But something you definitely want to be aware of if you're living in this area is the fact that just on the other side of this is a mountain here that the homes are built up along, and you kind of look into the valley this way. This is the garbage dump. Now, for the most part, you're not going to be affected by it, but I've definitely visited this area to show homes when the wind is in a certain direction, and you can definitely smell the dump in certain places at certain times. I don't think it affects everybody that lives in this area, but again, from my experience and showing in this area, it's just something to be aware of, because if you're sensitive to smells, that could be a deal breaker for you. Now, before we actually start to make our way south, we should mention the McKinley Landing area, because I feel like it's often a neighborhood that gets missed a lot because it's a bit out of town. So the McKinley Landing area occupies this section of the city right here. So it doesn't seem far, but McKinley Landing is actually a decent ways out of town. I mean, if you want to be very central and close to all the amenities, McKinley Landing might not be a great option for you at this time. You access it off of Glenmore Road, and Glenmore Road goes all the way to Lake Country. And there's two real sections of McKinley Landing. There's McKinley Landing, which is kind of McKinley proper. And then if we can see it here, there is McKinley Beach area, which is kind of the luxury neighborhood within McKinley Landing. Now, McKinley Beach, if it turns out to be the right place for you, it's incredibly beautiful. It's a new master plan community. They have tons of amenities in terms of tennis, gym, spa, pool areas. The one thing to note though is you are closer to the amenities, in my opinion, in Lake Country than actually Kelowna when you're in McKinley Beach. McKinley Landing is a little less far out, and you can access some of the amenities in North Glenmore like Save On Foods. And the nice part about McKinley Landing is they're actually increasing the access here. They're blowing out a road that connects with North Clifton, which is the old Glenmore area. They're almost all the way through from what I understand, and eventually that road will be accessible to McKinley Landing. I don't think it's going to save you a ton of time, but there is a bit of a windy drive that goes into McKinley Landing, so you'll be able to avoid that and be able to come pretty much out at Kelowna's downtown, which it definitely is going to be convenient for a lot of people. Now that we've made it through most of the northern neighborhoods, let me bring you through an area that still has a lot of stigma to it, but it's one of the biggest areas in town with great amenities and tons of affordable options. And if you're familiar with this area at all, you know that I'm talking about the Rutland area. Rutland is one of the largest areas in Kelowna in terms of neighborhoods. It occupies pretty much this entire space here. Again, these aren't exact boundaries of the neighborhood, but this is pretty close. And now you have North Rutland over here, and anything that is below Highway 33 here is South Rutland. The nice thing about this neighborhood is it's an entirely self-contained neighborhood. You have tons of schooling options with Rutland Middle School, elementary school, high school. You have YMCA. Right along Highway 33, you have everything from restaurants, groceries, shopping, and of course you have super easy access to some of the big box stores, whether it's Walmart, Costco, Superstore. So you have fantastic access outside of that if you need, but you're also in a prime location. Whether you want to go up Highway 33 towards Big White, you have to leave and go to the airport. You want access to the university, and again, Rutland Highway 33 directly accesses Highway 97, which are two of the main arteries that run through the city. Obviously, Highway 97 runs all the way through Kelowna and West Kelowna and goes on to the connector, or you can decide to go down south and explore the southern Okanagan. Some of the main areas I think are really desirable in Rutland is one, Tower Ranch. Tower Ranch is another one of those beautiful golf communities. If you see my previous videos or you've heard me talk about Tower Ranch, is one thing. I get a lot of people that come into our website that are viewing Tower Ranch properties, and you have to really be aware because some of those properties that are really too good to be true of a price for brand new homes are actually on private leasehold, which is why the price seems so attractive. There's a lot of freehold there too, so I wouldn't write that area off completely, but it's just something to be aware of. Another section is back here, kind of behind the Rutland sports fields in what a lot of people call the foothills of Rutland. I find these really great family-friendly neighborhoods. And then in South Rutland, pretty much anything in this area on either side of Hollywood or even across Springfield and Spull. In this southern point here, it almost gets a little more rural. You start to cross the boundaries where it's Black Mountain out this way and Kelowna South out this way. But again, these are some points in Rutland that I think are really nice and highly desirable. Now, if I can zoom in enough, I'll give you guys a tip. Rutland has a stigma for being a bit of a rougher neighborhood in the past. I don't believe that to be true anymore. There's certain areas I would definitely avoid, and I tell my clients to avoid. Two of the main areas I would say just don't even bother looking is right here on Hine Road and Nickel Road, pretty much this whole area. There's some great neighborhoods not too far from here, whether you're going a little more that way, around Bentley Park off of Hollywood. I think there's some great options, but these core areas here, I would just stay away from for the most part. They are going to be redeveloped. Like you see a lot of properties up for sale there, and they're eventually going to turn into condominium or townhouses or fourplex. And I think that area will definitely in the future be a more safe and livable place, but right now I would just avoid it unless you're looking to invest into a holding property. That's really, to me, the only area of Rutland I would actually stay away from. Now let's move our way down Highway 33 to the Black Mountain area, which Black Mountain occupies this big area right here. It's one of the last neighborhoods as you're exiting town before Joe Rich, and Black Mountain is really, in my opinion, it's a bit of an underrated neighborhood. I think it's super beautiful. You get some of the nicest views in the entire city where you're looking at southeast and west, and you start to get, ALR land views. You're getting downtown city views. You're getting lake views in the back. You're getting mountain views. So pretty extraordinary because it is built up on a hill. So you're kind of above the Rutland neighborhood. You have very close access to all the amenities that Rutland has. And I think it's a highly desirable. In terms of affordability, it's more affordable than like a Wilden or Upper Mission while still getting some incredible views. So if Big White access is really important to you, you just head down Highway 33, barely hit any traffic as you're leaving, and Big White is just over here, probably half an hour from the Black Mountain neighborhood. Now, Black Mountain is centered around Black Mountain Golf Course, which is a championship golf course. Really fun if you're into golf. It's an area that I'd highly recommend checking out. If you're into golf, it's a course I'd absolutely recommend checking out. And Black Mountain has kind of two sections to it. You have the Black Mountain area. You can get some incredible views on Mine Hill Drive. And then you have the Kirshner Mountainside across the highway. Equally nice, still get some incredible views. And then as you go down towards this Tuvey area, this lower section off the highway, you get more older homes, some funky 90s homes, and a lot more affordability. But As you get higher up, even in this area like Lone Pines Drive, there's new master plan communities with brand new builds there. And of course, in the upper section of Black Mountain, you have the Blue Sky area, which are these very beautiful luxury high-end areas. And we can't leave this section of the city without talking about Joe Rich. Joe Rich, to define the area, I mean, when you're looking at listings, Joe Rich really defines anything in this area just outside of town, all along Highway 33 here, even up past Big White to, where is the Idabel Lake? I'm probably not going to be able to find it. I'm not going to find it, but even past Big White Mountain in the Idabel Lake area, that's designated in our MLS system still as Joe Rich. So Joe Rich, you're coming out this way if you want a rural environment, you want more space. And I will say, some people say Joe Rich is a bit like the Wild West. People kind of live on their own out there. I mean, you're a little bit out of society. There's some great affordable options, but you know, they do come at a bit of a price if you're someone who's not used to stuff like being on septic, well water. These are things you're gonna definitely have to be aware of, especially pretty much anywhere in the Joe Rich area. But you can get some pretty incredible properties and pieces of land out this way at decently attractive prices, especially for rural Kelowna. Coming across land at some of the sizes that you get in Joe Rich is pretty rare. Now, one thing to note, and it's something I've dealt with when looking at properties at Joe Rich, because although Joe Rich does have a fire department, pretty much any property you're going to be around isn't going to have or be near any fire hydrant, and you might be so far past Big White by Idabel Lake where the fire department doesn't actually access it. So your insurance can be incredibly high. So it's really important, if you're looking at these rural areas, to connect with an expert that can put you in touch with some great insurance options, because I've had it collapse deals where, you know, folks didn't know these types of insurance options and they're getting quoted like $10,000 a year for insurance because of, you know, being away from the proper fire safety. But there are more affordable options. You're going to be on the higher than if you're actually in Kelowna, probably in that $3,000 to $4,000, maybe $3,000 to $5,000 range a year. But if having space, having privacy is what you're interested in, then Joe Rich is definitely going to be an area you want to check out. And before we move on to that next neighborhood, if you're interested in moving in Kelowna, you want to chat with someone who is a relocation specialist and can help design you a strategic plan on how you can get here, give you information on the area, please reach out to me at the information on the screen right now. Call me, text me, email at any time, or make it even easier on yourself. Click the link in the description down below to book yourself a free relocation strategy call. I'm more than happy to help you out and simplify the process. Now let's move on. So the last area we're going to talk about before we leave kind of the northern neighborhoods is the Springfield and Spall area. It's a bit of a harder area to define. A good section of it, like over here, over here is Rutland, but Springfield and Spall, obviously it runs along Springfield and Spall. Here, where are we? So any areas kind of in this area running all the way down to probably this section, kind of like in the city, even some of the Enterprise. Sometimes this will be Glenmore, sometimes it'll be Springfield and Spall. Now, it's not the prettiest area of town, I'll be honest with you, in terms of this neighborhood, but it is actually surprisingly affordable. I think when I did calculations of the most affordable neighborhoods, Springfield and Spall was actually at the top of the list. Now, if you're looking for 55 plus options, you want some incredible access. One of my favorite Greenway access points is right here across from the mall, and you can jump on the Greenway. You can see the Greenway running down all the way throughout the city. One of the best access points for the Greenway. But to me, it's convenience is the name of the game, and affordability. So pretty affordable places. You're next to all the major shopping centers, whether it's Costco, you have Orchard Park Mall right here, you have London Drugs, restaurants, you have major bus routes that go down Highway 97, they go down Springfield and Spall. So if you're moving to Kelowna and that's what's most important to you, Springfield and Spall is a great option. It's just not going to give you some of those incredible views or luxury options. But if that's not important to you and you're more worried about affordability, not having a vehicle here and being able to get around the town easily, then I think it's absolutely worth looking into. There's some really great condo complexes, some affordable single family homes, and also some great 55 plus options. So definitely check it out if those are your interests. Now, with family friendly options with a mix of affordability and some insane access to everywhere is the name of the game, then this next section of neighborhoods are absolutely going to be some areas you want to check out. So if you follow my channel, you've definitely heard me talk about this neighborhood a ton. It's one of the most popular neighborhoods in Kelowna, and that's the Glenmore neighborhood. Travels down along Glenmore Road here. This is the old Glenmore section and kind of sticks around here. This is Glenmore. It's another really large neighborhood. It's divided between North Glenmore and this section they call Old Glenmore. It's a mix of things. It has every option you could ask for, from townhouse 55 plus, condo options, single family homes, more luxury single family homes. Glenmore has it all. The biggest difference to me between North and Old Glenmore, Old Glenmore, which I mean, again, these places are interchangeable with each other in my opinion. Older Glenmore has some of those more character homes. It's closer to Knox Mountain and the trail system. It has some great access to some of the higher end communities. Like back here you have Magic Estates, which is a very popular neighborhood, kind of one of those sub neighborhoods that people talk about off Clifton. Then you have more high-end neighborhoods like the High Point, but Glenmore, built along the side of the mountain, Knox Mountain, great character homes. North Glenmore has some more new builds, I would say, especially in this more northern section. It has the actual amenities, but again, they are pretty much one in the same. This is that little shopping complex here that has gas station, Shoppers Drug Mart, Save on Food, some great restaurants. And you'll notice as you're going down Glenmore Road, pretty much off of every street, there's bakeries, restaurant options, and Glenmore definitely has some sneaky good restaurants, especially that you don't get a lot of tourists at in the summer because they don't really know about it because it's a bit out of downtown. And then of course, in terms of family friendly, you have Watson Road Elementary, you have Dr. Knox Middle School in this area, some of the best schools in the area, making Glenmore a fantastic option. And this accessibility that I'm going to point out here goes for any of the neighborhoods I'm about to discuss in this section, including Dilworth and the Wilden area. But Glenmore, Dilworth, Wilden, more Glenmore and Dilworth for sure, has some of the best accessibility in the city, no matter where you want to go. If you're looking to go north, you're heading out to Lake Country going towards Calgary, you have back road access here. You can also sneak to the university if you need to. If you need access to the dump, you can also reconnect with the highway, go to the airport, or take the highway out of town. If you need to hop over and get to the mall area or city center, you have access there. Glenmore Drive is going to bring you back to the highway, or you can take the Clifton route and be in downtown in no time at all. To me, Glenmore and Dilworth are the #1 neighborhoods out of anywhere in Kelowna in terms of accessibility, even more than Springfield and Spall, because it just gives you more options on what you want to do. So if that's important to you, Glenmore kind of does have it all in a lot of ways, and is kind of in the average middle ground in terms of affordability as well. Not too much to talk about with Dilworth, but obviously Dilworth is one of the smaller communities in the city. This is Dilworth Mountain right here. You have kind of windy roads up here that lead you to some homes with pretty incredible views. You have Dilworth Mountain Park, which I mean, you literally park here and it's like a 2-minute walk to some of the most breathtaking views in the city. You've seen in some of my videos that I do the intros there because it's such an undeserved view and location. I always manage to go there, and when I'm showing clients around, I'll often bring them there so they can get the full scope of the city and just truly see how beautiful Kelowna is. The one thing I would make note about in this area, on some of these homes, not all of them, but depending on where you're located, you can sometimes be backed right onto a mountain. So you get very limited backyard, and depending on what direction you're facing, you can lose the sun very early, which is, I don't know, something that some people when they're viewing houses don't take into account. So you go see it during the middle of the day, you're like, this is great, okay, the mountain's right there, not a big deal. But in the summer, you're not getting any of that evening sun. It's kind of getting behind you at 4 o'clock. Again, I'm not saying it's pitch black, but you're just not getting any of that evening sun because right behind you, you're built up onto a face of a mountain. So that's just something to consider, and that a lot of people don't take into consideration when looking at these areas. And lastly, we're going to look at the Wilden area. Wilden is kind of like luxury Glenmore. It's a newer master plan communities, a lot of modern builds here. There's townhouses, complexes, single family homes around Hidden Lake, and then this upper canyon. As you get into this area, especially Red Sky Place here, honestly, it wasn't until I started showing more in Wilden this year that I realized how insane some of the views are. And you are kind of on one of the higher roads. You're at the top of the mountain, especially on Red Sky Court. And some of these properties, I know right at the end here, I've seen these properties give you unlimited views all the way down north. You can pretty much almost see Vernon from there. It looks directly down the lake while still giving you looks to West Kelowna, the bridge and the mountains and the lakes that way. So Wilden is higher end, higher average price, one of the most expensive neighborhoods in the city, but very beautiful and even worth driving through and checking out if it's in your budget or you just want to check out a really cool area. A nice thing too is Wilden backs right onto Knox Mountain too. So you have great access to all of these trails, whether you're hiking and biking. If you don't know Knox Mountain, it's right north of downtown. Really great for hiking. There's tennis courts at the bottom. There's 2 levels of lookouts you can hike up to. You can mountain bike down. There's trail systems all around here. If you're a local, you might already know this, but if you get up to the first lookout, which you can drive to, you can take the Paul's Tombs Trail. It's a much easier trail than hiking straight up Knox, and you can get to this private beach that really only locals know about. But if you want to get a quick workout in, you want to get a quick sweat in the morning, starting your day at Knox is always a great way to start your day. Okay, this next section of town is going to be especially interesting to those of you looking for that more urban lifestyle and wanting to be downtown. But even if downtown living isn't for you, I'm going to go over an important piece of information in this section that's going to pertain to anyone moving to Kelowna. So Kelowna's downtown, I would say it occupies anywhere in this section right here. So obviously north of the highway is Kelowna's north and Kelowna's downtown proper. You have a few sections here. I mean, right off I think one of the most important streets to note in Kelowna, especially the downtown, is Bernard. This is where you're gonna get tons of shops, restaurants, some of the best food and places to eat in the city. And if you head down straight to Bernard, you're gonna hit the waterfront where you have City Park, you have Marina Park, you have Tugboat Beach and the waterfront park. And this is where all the action happens in the summer. There's events in Waterfront Park. You always have activities going along the boardwalk here. You have Stewart Park right here. This is where the ice rink is in the winter. You have some fantastic restaurants that are located right along the boardwalk here. I mean, you have Oak and Crew, King's Tap, Cactus Club, Craft, Earl's Kitchen and Bar that are going to give you some amazing views while you eat. And this section here, to me, the best places to eat in the city are located in this area. Of course, you have Prospera Place in this area where the Kelowna Rockets play. We get a lot of our big concerts there. This is the true downtown core. Now you have more of a residential area right in this section here. I talk about this a lot too. This is an area where you will find single family homes, but at a pretty expensive price for, pretty small living spaces, 900 to 1200 square feet, single family homes. And it's because this is the central transit core. So a lot of these homes have future and higher density use for future development. So a lot of these homes are either part of a land assembly or they just have higher and better use on a big lot size, even if the home is small. So someone could buy it, knock it down, build a townhouse complex. Although I think this is a really cool area, this residential core in the downtown, I think it's pretty brutal in terms of single family housing prices. Now, there's some great townhouse, really nice brand new built townhouses in that option. But to me, if you're moving to the downtown, condo living is absolutely the way to go. And I would say a lot of the best condos are in this area. Right here we have, so it doesn't show the new towers, but this area right now has the new Water Street by the Park, some of the largest towers in the entire city, brand new builds that have, in my opinion, the nicest amenities in the entire city. Right off of Bernard, you have Bertram, great condo complex, and you have the Brooklyn, which is another new and really fantastic complex. And then you have, one of my favorite areas in the downtown section, you have Sunset Drive, where you have Discovery Bay Resort, you have Waterscape condos, and you have the One Water Street Towers, which again, all really fantastic condo complexes. This area right here used to be more of the industrial area, but now I would call this the brewery district, where you have some really, really great restaurants, great breweries, great places to eat, and is developing into a really cool area. But the one thing I wanted to mention, and this is what I was discussing at the top of this section, is the homeless population. Now, living in any type of city, you're going to be dealing with a homeless population for the most part. hard, especially in Kelowna, the Okanagan, the lower mainland, where the weather and the climate is more desirable and less harsh in the winters. You're gonna sometimes run into a greater population. I don't think Kelowna is in any way out of control compared to other major cities in BC like Vancouver, lower mainland, or even Victoria. But I think it's important to know, especially where these resources are. So if you do want to stay away from that, you want to avoid, you at least have the education and information to make that decision for yourself. Okay, so I'll kind of give you the rundown in this. And this comes from local knowledge and also being boots on the ground as a mental health professional for over 10 years. So I do know what I'm talking about in this area. So again, you're in this brewery district. Just so you know, the RCMP station is right here, which is kind of makes sense. You have some baseball fields and stadiums here. And then as you go here, off of Weddell Place, this area, there is a tent city. It's small and much more organized than it has been in the past. Along Richter, like honestly, in the mix of things, you don't even notice it, but there are some unhoused resources there. And then again, off of Bay Ave, these buildings right here are shelters. And then the other area, which is kind of ironic because it is in the heart of downtown and right where these new builds are, but just outside of Water Street by the park, you have the Kelowna's Gospel Mission, and then you have some more resources just in this section of Leon here. I think this is just good knowledge to have. I don't think you should completely avoid these areas, especially if you're, want to be downtown. I feel like our downtown is very safe. All these condos are locked and secured buildings, but it's another thing to consider if you are going to be in single family homes downtown. You're going to want to lock up your bikes. You're going to want to make sure your cars are locked because you're downtown like you would in any city downtown. Kelowna isn't special or unique in that way. Okay, now let's take a look at the other half of downtown, and that is the Kelowna South neighborhood. Oops. We're gonna go, and neighborhood is essentially in this area. So Kelowna South is kind of one of the most diverse neighborhoods, I feel like, in the city. You have everything from sections like this right off Gushigan and Gordon, where you're gonna find amazing 55 plus communities with Balmoral and Sandstone, and then Sunrise Village right below that. You have a few other 55 plus communities right in this section, Cottonwoods and the Fountains right here. Cottonwoods is a long-term care facility. And then of course, Kelowna South has the best access to Kelowna General Hospital, KGH. Then you have shopping centers like the Capri Mall Center up here, which has grocery stores, restaurants. You have places like Rona, the casino down here, Home Hardware. And then you have also off of Dixon Ave, you have the Landmark buildings, which is kind of like the business center. Of course, there's some stores in this area, some restaurants. It's a pretty cool area. I used to work here off Kirshner. And yeah, you could go grab bite to eat. There's coffee shops. There's some great restaurants in that area as well. And then of course, looking closer to the water, you are going to have Abbott Street, one of the most beautiful streets in Kelowna, full of these amazing character heritage homes that are so unique to this city. And really this section of the city is where the waterfront access and waterfront estates really start, all along there. Behind the hospital, you have Strathcona Beach Park, you have Kinsman Park down the way, and then you have one of my favorite park areas. Where are we right now? With Gyro Beach right here. Gyro Beach, one of my favorite beaches in town. And I know I talked about Kelowna North and Kelowna's downtown as being where some of the best condos are, but for my money and what I believe to be the nicest condo complex in all of Kelowna is actually right here, right next to Gyro Park, and that's the Movala. It's a brand new build with beautiful amenities, pool deck, commercial underneath. It has units with some amazing water views, and its location to me is second to none. Being right next to Gyro, you have the amenities like Mission Park Shopping Center with the best grocery store of all time, Urban Fare with some restaurants in this area, Save on Foods. Right on the corner, actually, you have Sandrine's Pastry. It's a French pastry place and a really great place to get coffee. And then right on the corner here where in my opinion, this is where the Kelowna South neighborhood ends and Lower Mission begins. But you have this little complex here with Shoreline Brewery, some restaurants and coffee shops here. And another really fantastic condo complex is the Cabane, which is right across from the Movala, and another new build and beautiful condo complex. I actually used to live right on the corner of Gushigan and Gordon here, and I used to live in this townhouse complex called Aberdeen Estates. And living here, you really start to realize how convenient and accessible this neighborhood is. It also is very family friendly, having Kelowna Secondary School here, A.S. Matheson, as well as Raymer Elementary right here. And then of course you also have Okanagan College campus. So again, this neighborhood to me just has so much to offer. Also, one of the best sections of it that, it's kind of what makes it that downtown feel is as you come right down Pandosy Street right here. So you go by the hospital and you get to what we call the Pandosy corridor right along here. You're going to have some great restaurants, some shops, Canadian Brew House, and for my money, my favorite ethnic cuisine with back-to-back restaurants in Zab Thai for your Thai food, Momo Sushi for your sushi, and Chutney's restaurant for Indian. So it's just a really great area, fun to hop around. And again, it's so diverse. You have something for condo living, 55 plus. In this section right here, you have more residential living. Again, here as you go down a little more south, it's family friendly. It has water access. Again, it just kind of has it all. It's the total package of a neighborhood and really worth checking out. Now, if price isn't as important as waterfront living, views, or access to nature, then these next neighborhoods are going to be of particular interest. And full disclosure, my bias is really gonna come through here because we're entering my favorite section of town with the southeastern core. And to start off in the southeastern core, we are going to get into probably the most popular neighborhood in all of Kelowna. If you heard of Kelowna, you definitely have heard of this neighborhood, and that is the Lower Mission. Lower Mission is going to occupy this area, starts right after Kelowna South, and to me it's where the premium waterfront estates and waterfront living is, right along this strip here. I mean, as you get into it, you have all these small little beaches. I mean, I drew Kelowna South a little big here. I really feel like Lower Mission kind of starts in this section. Off of Cook Road, you have the El Dorado Resort. These are two other really nice condo complexes, brand new. The Aqua, they're brand new builds, just kind of like the Movala and the Caban, Water Street by the park. And as you go down Lakeshore and Gordon, which are your two main arteries to get into this neighborhood, you're just gonna hit beach after beach. You have Bluebird Beach, you have Hobson Beach, I think it's kind of hard to see somewhere off of here. You have Sarson's Beach, and these are more local beaches that you don't get a lot of tourism at, so it's kind of nice. In terms of access to nature in the Lower Mission, of course you're going to have access to the Mission Greenway that travels throughout the whole city. You can see it goes up here all the way around. It actually ends in the Lower Mission. It comes out to the water, and you're gonna pass the Mission Fields, which is a huge sports center area. You have the H2O Center, you have the Capital News Center for hockey, swimming, all of your needs. And another reason why this area is so desirable is because it's extremely family friendly, because of its residential suburban areas, but also because it's known for some of the best and highest quality schools in the Okanagan. Right here you have the French Immersion School, and just down the road from that you have Dorothea Walker. On the other side of Lakeshore you have Anne McClymondt, and then as we make this turn here you have Okanagan Mission Secondary School. So again, some of the best schools in the area. And what's nice here too is, although you have these luxury waterfront properties along this area here, I would say probably the most popular area is off of Gordon, kind of in between Gordon and Lakeshore, in this core area right here, where you get some really affordable residential, some places with big lots and some very nice homes. I would say this is the most popular. Of course, if you want the waterfront living, you kind of got to be over here off these really luxury streets like Hobson and Sarson's. But this is kind of the core. This is the heart of the Lower Mission, in my opinion. And then right off of D Hard here, you're going to have, it doesn't even have it updated, but this is a brand new park here. It doesn't look like a sand pit anymore. You have the red barn with the tennis court. So if you're thinking of joining a tennis club, Lower Mission is a great option. And then for brand new construction and new builds, this is it's more filled out than this, but this is a brand new master plan community called Orchard in the Mission off Russo and Bull Crescent right here. And it has some stunning new construction homes with very reputable builders. So if that's what you're interested in, you have the option for that in the Lower Mission. Now, as we make it up the hill, you continue either up Lakeshore from this direction, or you follow the bend in Gordon and you are in the Upper Mission, which is home to me. So again, I'm pretty biased because I think this is a fantastic area, but for what the Lower Mission has in its waterfront access and beach access, the Upper Mission has in views and access to nature. So you have all these little communities up here that are going to give you some pretty incredible views of the Okanagan and the lake, especially when you're up in this area. The orchard has orchard in the, or sorry, the Lower Mission has orchard in the Mission, and the Upper Mission has trailhead at the ponds. Brand new master plan community up here with similar builders to that of the orchard in the Mission. And up here and anywhere off of Kuiper's Peak, you're going to get some really incredible views of Okanagan Lake, West Kelowna, even sometimes all the way down to Penticton and Peachland. And again, you have really great access to nature. On the other side of Kuiper's Mountain, you can either access it from this little access point on the bend of the perimeter road, the Thompson Flats, which great for off-leash dog walking, hiking trails. It'll lead you to Kettle Valley or up Gillard, where there is some great hiking and biking trails in this area worth checking out. And even just through the Mission in general, you have walking trails that bring you through all the way from Crawford through the entire neighborhood. So if you're someone who likes to get out there and walk their dog, this is a fantastic area for that. And of course, you have the ponds now, new shopping development in the Upper Mission, which just elevated the lifestyle up here. So now we don't have to go into the Lower Mission if we want to get groceries, we want to get food. We have Shoppers Drug Mart, Save On Food, Starbucks coffee shop. There's going to be restaurants up here, and it just made life a lot more convenient. And if you're talking about the Upper Mission, a lot of times this next neighborhood is often included in that, but I like to talk about it in a separate way. Here you kind of have the bridge where it's like old Upper Mission, and then this area right here is Kettle Valley. Now, Kettle Valley to me is one of the most idyllic communities, and what I mean by that, it's a place I go on weekends with my family to walk our dogs, go for a walk with our family. There's people cutting their grass, watering their garden, everyone's saying hi to each other, and I mean, this whole southeastern core is what I would call family friendly, but you really feel it once you're in Kettle Valley, and I feel like it's such a desirable and kind of cute little neighborhood. And you can see just from like barely zooming in on that, you have so many different parks in this small residential area. You still have that fantastic access to nature. You have Lebanon Creek access and all of these hiking and walking trails in John's Family Nature Conservancy, which is a huge area and trail system. This Kilchenna Park right here has a fantastic playground structure for kids and a water park for the summer. I go there at least once a week, especially when the weather permits. You have Shoot Lake Elementary School, which is a fantastic elementary school. And sorry, I almost didn't mention, right next to the ponds there, you have Canyon Falls Middle School, which is the newest middle school, the newest school in all of Kelowna, and it's super nice. Going back to Kettle Valley here, right next to the school, you have a little kind of shopping center here where you got a pub, you have a dental office, a coffee shop, convenience store, gym. And then this is a new townhouse complex that is actually really nice, and they're decent prices for brand new builds. Another park there. This used to be a big soccer field and park. I used to take my dogs to here and go play around. It's now being redeveloped. This is actually what it looks like, and it feels like it's taking forever. I do believe that they're going to be condo complexes of some sort. Hopefully they don't obstruct the views of these areas right here. And then as you go up the hill, the prices kind of increase as well as the views, but these are all brand new builds. The homes are a little closer together up here in Mountainside and Upper Mission Drive, but the views are impeccable and there's some really, really nice properties here. If you look, you have some great access to wineries like Summer Hill, and as Lakeshore leads you up to Kettle Valley, it turns to Shoot Lake and it kind of ventures off, and Lakeshore continues along the waterfront here. I mean, not the waterfront, but drives along the water. And if you follow that, you can get into some really cool local areas with Cedar Creek Dog Park here. There's a dog beach, a beautiful dog park that honestly, go there with your dog, go there for a picnic. It's stunning, gives you views of the lake, Peachland down to Penticton, and some amazing city views. Of course, you have St. Hubertus Winery, Lebanon Creek access, Cedar Creek Winery, which is probably the most famous winery on the Kelowna side of things, worth checking out. And if you continue down, you have access to Bertram Creek Regional Park, which is a regional park that not a lot of people know about because they don't know about accessing it. So if you want to go somewhere in the summer where the tourists won't be flooded, this is a great place to go and check out. Now with 2 neighborhoods left, we're going to head just past the Upper Mission. And we're going to go to one of the smallest the smallest community in all of Kelowna, and that is Crawford Estates. Crawford Estates is a place I spend a lot of time in. It's where my in-laws live. I used to have to travel down Gordon and kind of wind my way up into this neighborhood, but now with the new ring road that connects Crawford, it alleviates some of the traffic from the Upper Mission, but also allows me to get to Crawford in like 5 minutes. And quickly speaking about traffic, you do hear some people complain about the traffic coming from the Upper Mission or Kettle Valley, and honestly, to me, it's unfounded. If you're to go at peak times, you're maybe waiting 10 or so minutes, and the majority of traffic starts about here on Gordon and goes to the lights on DeHart. So this section right here, kind of the same thing through Lakeshore. You kind of get stuck in these little school areas, but as soon as you get to like H2O Center, it opens to a 4-lane, and maybe it's adding 10 minutes onto your commute, but it's nothing. And now that some of that's alleviated, sometimes I'll end up going the Crawford route if I'm going towards a mall or something, just because it's a little easier, it's scenic, it's beautiful. But Crawford Estates, every single neighborhood in the southeastern core is family friendly. Most neighborhoods in Kelowna are family friendly. This is one of those areas where you can let your kids go outside, play on the streets, walk to the park, and you don't have to worry about them. It's so peaceful, out of the way. There's such low traffic, low noise in this area. You have beautiful homes here on large lot sizes. You can see compared to some of the other neighborhoods how less dense and more spread out it is, because I mean, if you look here, all of these lot sizes at least are 0.5 acres in size. So you have a lot more space in Crawford. So it's a small community, really family friendly. You have parks like Red Ridge Park to bring your kids to, and access to nature. Again, you have everything at your fingertips. Right off of the ring road here is a parking lot that gives you access to, in my opinion, my favorite hiking and biking trail system in Kelowna. It's Myra Bellevue Provincial Park. Endless trail system here. You can go all the way to the KVR, which is a big Kettle Valley roadway that runs along the Okanagan. But yeah, if you want larger lot sizes, more space, more privacy, because a lot of these new builds and new master plan communities, although amazing, are built really close together. You're kind of side by side with your neighbor, whereas in Crawford, you get a little more property, and that might be right up your alley. Now, the last neighborhood we're going to touch on in Kelowna is the biggest neighborhood, and that is the Southeast neighborhood, which is this entire section. Again, as you can see, very rural, very sparse neighborhood, full of farmland. This is like being in a separate town. I've probably said that in a few sections by now, but realistically, you're in Southeast Kelowna. It feels like you live somewhere else. You live in a rural community that still has great access to the city, but you have the space and freedom here to own a farm, own a hobby farm if you want. Maybe you want to start a winery, or you just want to live somewhere where there's not a neighbor. And Southeast Kelowna is absolutely going to be somewhere you want to check out. I mean, the prices here are definitely a lot higher because you are still in Kelowna, and it is such a beautiful area that property values here are still quite high. You have areas like on the entrance to Southeast Kelowna, you have the Harvest Golf Club, which is one of the most popular golf clubs in Kelowna. You have my favorite golf course living community, which is Gallagher's Canyon, where my brother and sister-in-law live. Every time I go to visit them, it feels like I get to go and hang out at a resort. Not only is it scenic and beautiful, surrounded by the canyon, creek, access to nature all around it, it has an amazing championship 18-hole course, as well as probably, bang for my buck, the best 9-hole course in all of Kelowna. And you can actually get some really nice views if you're looking at places on Gallagher's Pinnacle, which is a bit rare for Southeast Kelowna because it is pretty flat here, but certain areas like this, you can get some amazing views of the city and the mountains. And then even for schools out here, you have South Kelowna Elementary in the middle of here. I mean, not a ton of amenities here, but highest density of wineries on the Kelowna side for sure. They're kind of spread out all around here. You have Priest Creek, you have Vibrant Vines in here, you have Forbidden Spirits, which actually I believe is closed down, Soma Craft, Nagging Doubt, out. So just an incredible place to check out. You have access to the trestles if you continue on McCullough. So rural living while still having really great access. I mean, from Gallagher, my sister-in-law works at the hospital. It takes her 20 minutes to get downtown through all of this to the hospital. So pretty great. And if that rural lifestyle is what you want, Southeast Kelowna, to me, it's the only other place I would live in besides the Upper Mission. So if that's what you're interested in, that kind of caps off the southeastern core of neighborhoods. So now you're familiar with the east side of Kelowna, but not everyone wants to live in Kelowna proper. Some people want a little quieter, slower pace of living. So let's take a trip across the Bennett Bridge to the other half of the city where we have some beautiful neighborhoods and great opportunities. And before we do, if you want even more information on the differences between East and West Kelowna or the surrounding towns that make up the Okanagan, just make sure you reach out. Okay, so here is the Bennett Bridge, and the first neighborhood we're going to look at is the first exit to the right across the bridge, and that is the West Kelowna Estates neighborhood. Just an FYI, I talked about the traffic in the southeastern core and how people complain about that. The traffic that builds up on the bridge is actually legit. People do complain about it, and it's something I used to kind of dismiss a bit and think it wasn't that bad, but over the last couple of years, especially in the summer months when tourism really ramps up, I definitely agree that is something you have to consider if you're constantly commuting, especially on a Friday coming in from this direction or a Sunday leaving. And realistically, any day in the morning, if you're working that 9 to 5 job, it can back up quite a ways. I mean, sometimes in the summer months, we're backing up all the way to the Bartley Road access. So again, it's just something to be aware of. I don't think it's a deal breaker, but if you're commuting every day, something to consider. Now, looking at the West Kelowna Estates neighborhood. Again, this is a beautiful neighborhood with some luxury properties with incredible views, but also really great family sections. One of the most popular sub-neighborhoods in West Kelowna is the Rose Valley area. In this general area here, it has Rose Valley Elementary Schools, some great suburban residential areas, and then you also have more luxury areas built along the hills here that are going to give you some great views. And of course, you have the brand new Westridge Bay down at the waterfront here, and this is going to be a mix of single family townhouse and condo buildings, all brand new, really nice views, some waterfront access and private beach, as well as some places coming with boat slips. So one thing to consider is this is all lease land here in this section here in Westridge Bay, which isn't a deal breaker, and I'm not going to get in the differences between leasehold and freehold land right now, but something to be aware of. And if you have questions about it, make sure you reach out and I can answer those for you. A bit of a smaller area too. Right off this exit here on Westside Road, you have some mobile home parks, some nice ones, Nancy Way and off of Catherine Way there. So if you're looking to get a manufactured home park, there's some great options there. And now we're going to get deeper into West Kelowna, but this is another essential area of Kelowna that doesn't get talked about a lot, of West Kelowna, and that is West Side Road. So West Side Road runs along here. It travels all the way up to Fintry, and it really loops around all the way to Vernon. And Fintry is a part of Kelowna's municipality, and it's another one of those areas like Tower Ranch that a lot of people sign up on my website looking at properties there, and they can't believe these beautiful properties with lake views are so affordable. And they don't know the reason is, I mean, one, there's a lot of leasehold out in Fintry, but honestly, there's some great options that are freehold. The biggest reason for the price out in Fintry is, I mean, really look at where you are. You're all the way up in Lake Country, just on the other side of the lake. And this, although a very scenic, beautiful road on West Side Road, is incredibly windy. It's two very narrow lanes going each direction. It takes you about 30 minutes on a good day coming from West Kelowna. And if you're having to make that commute every day, it might be a deal breaker. I don't think I'd want to do that drive every day, and I absolutely would not want to do that drive in the winter months. It's kind of the same just above Fintry. You have the Okanagan North area that's part of Vernon's municipality, and I've had many people that I've shown out there because of the affordability, and after going out to see properties a few times, they write it off and say, no, that's out. I can't deal with that drive. So again, I thought I'd touch on that. Fintry barely gets talked about. It's a really great area, and if you want to be out there, you kind of want to be secluded, make that drive when you have to, but not something you're going to be doing every day, then it's a really great option because it is super affordable out there. Now let's take a look at my favorite area in West Kelowna, and that is Lakeview Heights. So West Kelowna Estates is on the first axis to the right across the bridge, and Lakeview Heights is on the first axis to the left across the bridge. And I just think this is such a fantastic area for several reasons. I just think it offers so much. I mean, you have fantastic sub-neighborhoods like Casa Loma right here, and my favorite sub neighborhood in my favorite neighborhood with Vineyard Estates in this region up here. You have places like Calamore Park, the nicest park in West Kelowna. You have the very popular and very well-known West Kelowna Wine Trail across Boucherie here with, again, this is the most dense area of wineries in all of Kelowna and West Kelowna combined. And some of the best, you have Mount Boucherie Winery, The Hatch, Quails Gate, which is one of my favorites in the area, and you have the very popular and very well-known Mission Hill. So I just feel like it offers so much. It's centered around Mount Boucherie right here, which is West Kelowna's version of Knox, in my opinion. You know, it's a great, easy hour straight up hike to get a good workout and some incredible views. You have the only high school in West Kelowna where everyone from West Kelowna goes to on the other side of it. You have this tiny little complex here right off the highway with some restaurants, the cinema, Shoppers Drug Mart, and a little Nestor's Market, and down in this area if you need to grab a few things for shopping. But to me, the pride and joy of Lakeview Heights is this section right here in Vineyard Estates. I love it because the houses are beautiful up here. You get some incredible views of the lake, the Kelowna side of things, while still having great access if you need to jump over to the West Kelowna amenities or get back to Kelowna and get bridge access. This section right here, I will say, in the flats, I feel like your money doesn't go very far. The prices are still relatively high compared to what you get. Maybe a bit bigger lot sizes down in the flats, but I feel like you get some bigger lot sizes with really old homes and the prices just don't justify it, in my opinion. I kind of noticed that over the last year or two of showing in this particular area. So just wanted to make quick note of that. Now, in terms of probably the most popular neighborhood, the one you hear about the most in West Kelowna, that's going to be Shannon Lake neighborhood. I feel like Shannon Lake is really popular because, one, probably the most well-known neighborhood. It's incredibly family friendly. It's built around Shannon Lake and Shannon Lake Regional Park. You have Shannon Lake Golf Course right here. So aesthetically, it's very beautiful. It has these great suburban residential areas. It has some more high-end areas like the Talus Ridge, Talus Heights areas over here. And I think it's just a very affordable option. I mean, this is kind of in line with the Glenmore affordability. I feel like you can get some really great places for that 900 to 1.1 million in terms of single family homes. And for Kelowna, in family-friendly areas with great schooling options, close access to amenities and parks is pretty good. I mean, I know if you're coming from a lower market, that may not sound great, but for Kelowna and the Okanagan, that's pretty good. And again, when I talk about access to amenities, you don't have to go very far. Just outside of the neighborhood is where you're going to have your big box stores all along the highway with Walmart, Real Canadian Superstore, and then across the street, places like Home Depot, Canadian Tire, Winners, HomeSense. So really great access to those, saving you the trouble of having to go back across the bridge and really allowing you to enjoy that West Kelowna lifestyle. Now, as we continue on, we're going to get to the Smith Creek neighborhood in this section here. And it's kind of like West Kelowna's southeastern neighborhood a little bit. To me, not as nice. That's just my opinion. I mean, great access to amenities. You can tell it's a little more sparse and a little less dense. You have a lot of farm and ALR land here. You have some wineries kind of spread out throughout, but to me, it just doesn't offer as much. It's not as beautiful. The section I really like is the more luxury section of Smith Creek up in this area off of Copper Ridge. These houses here, it's like a new master plan community. These houses here get some incredible views. It's a really nice area, a little far back, you know, a little more work to get to, but you get some amazing views of ALR, the city of West Kelowna, and Lake Okanagan. So in terms of Smith Creek, some bigger lot sizes. Sections like the Copper Ridge area I think are really worth checking out, and it's a bit more rural of environment, but to me, maybe not as nice as Southeast Kelowna. I don't know if that's a great comparison actually. So as we're getting deeper into West Kelowna, this is where matching your lifestyle to location is key. And if affordability is more important than anything else, then these next two neighborhoods are gonna have to be something you pay close attention to. So first, let's look at what is actually the most affordable neighborhood in the entire city, and that is the West Bank Center, which realistically encompasses Two Eagles all the way down here in this entire section. Now, West Bank Center is West Kelowna's downtown. It includes the big box stores area, and this section right here along the highway, you have some great restaurants, some bakeries, shops, and stores, as well as access to things like Johnson Bentley Community Center, which is kind of West Kelowna's H2O center. although it has, probably doesn't show it on here. Oh, it does. A really, really good skate park if you're a kid or you're into skateboarding, something to check out. You have two Truck 59 Cider House doesn't get talked about enough, but really great ciders if you're into that. And Crown and Thieves is a very unique and cool winery owned by the same people who do the Hatch and Black Swift, and it's made to look like a rundown, dilapidated castle. Very cool and worth checking out. You have some 55 plus communities right in here and some places with some water views in this section. Now, one of the reasons West Bank Center is so affordable because you're in downtown West Kelowna, it might not be the most desirable location. And for the fact there is a lot of leasehold land here, so that combination really brings down the prices in this area. I think it's worth checking out. And there are some newer really great builds in this Gelatly area in this section here. But if you're looking for the blend of affordability and more family friendly, then honestly, you really can't beat the next area in Glen Rosa. Glen Rosa is your last stop as you leave West Kelowna, and it is that ultimate blend of family friendly and affordability with houses ranging in the 650 to 750 range on decent lot sizes. And you can see just as you zoom in, how many parks are in this area just from looking at it right here. You have a middle school, you have an elementary school, and this is just a really quiet, peaceful, tight-knit community that a lot of people write off because of the location. But if you're a young family that's coming from maybe a lower market or you're a first-time home buyer, the affordability in this area is second to none. Now that comes with a caveat. If you're someone who has to commute every single day across the bridge, this is a pretty nasty commute coming along here on the highway, having to travel all the way here across the bridge. Now, if it's what you can afford, is it worth it? It could be, but I will say that's, to me, the worst commute in the city is having to go from Glen Rosa to, say you work in city center here or somewhere in Kelowna. That is going to be a rough drive. Even if you work down in Penticton, you have great access to that. If you're someone who has to travel often to Vancouver, you have premium access to out of town, because I'll tell you from where I am, the worst part of the drive is leaving the Upper Mission and getting through West Kelowna to the highway. That feels like it takes the longest out of anything. So now, once it's laid out on the map, you can start to see the whole picture of Kelowna. And if you actually want to see me walk through these two neighborhoods, here's a video where I do just that for Kelowna and another one for West Kelowna. And if you watch those two videos in conjunction with this one, then you really will have the entire picture of what the city has to offer. Then it becomes just a matter of what's important to you and how you want to pair your lifestyle to the right area. Is it rural, downtown access, or waterfront lifestyle that's important to you? Or is it to have views or be in a family-friendly area or a short commute that's really what you're looking for? That's where I can help. As a relocation specialist, I help people every single week with this exact situation. So you can call me, text me, email me at the information on the screen right now, or linked in the description down below. Or make it even easier, hit the link in the description to book yourself a free relocation consultation call. Allow me to connect, see how I can help you out and simplify the process. Again, my name is Brett Paholi, your Okanagan realtor and relocation specialist. This is my channel, Living in Kelowna BC, and I will catch you in the next video.